And I want to tell you something from a very real place, a very human place, a very imperfect place. Maybe you're tired, but truly tired. Not tired from a long day, not tired from traffic, not tired from work. I'm talking about that deep exhaustion, the kind that settles into your soul, the kind that makes you smile on the outside while inside you're saying, I don't know how much longer I can keep going. That exhaustion where you begin to lose your enthusiasm, where the things that once excited you no longer do, where conversations feel draining, where noise becomes overwhelming, where your heart feels heavy, where even resting seems difficult. And I want to talk about something that almost no one mentions, the exhaustion of being strong for too long, because there are people who have carried too much, too many responsibilities, too much pain, too many expectations, too many disappointments, too many battles, too many losses, too much silence. And they became accustomed to something dangerous, functioning while broken. They learn to keep going, even when it hurts, even when it's heavy, even when nobody asks, even when nobody understands, even when nobody notices. And maybe you're that person, the one who helps everyone, the one who listens to everyone, the one who gives advice, the one who serves, the one who holds everything together, the one who appears calm. But when you get to your room, when the lights go out, when the noise finally stops, you realize something. You also need someone to embrace you emotionally. You also need rest. You also need understanding. You also need grace. Because something very difficult happens to people who carry so much. People forget they're human too. Because you're responsible, they assume you can handle it. Because you're strong, they assume it doesn't hurt. Because you smile, they assume you're okay. Because you serve, they assume you don't need help. But no, that's not how it works. The strong person breaks too. The strong person cries too. The strong person also sits in silence wondering who's holding me together. And if you've ever felt that way, I want to tell you something. You're not failing because you're tired. Let me say that again. You're not failing because you're exhausted. Sometimes you're surviving things nobody knows about. Sometimes you've spent months being strong just to avoid collapsing. Sometimes you're simply trying to breathe, and that counts too. That is courage too. Because there's a dangerous lie many people believe. If I'm tired, I'm failing. No. Sometimes exhaustion simply means you fought too many battles. And I want to touch on something deeper, the difference between being broken and rebuilding yourself. Because many times we think, I'm not okay. I'm lost. I'm not moving forward. I feel weak. I'm broken. But maybe you're not broken. Maybe you're rebuilding. And rebuilding feels strange. Because it requires letting go of old versions of yourself, old ways of thinking, old wounds, old habits, old dependencies, old relationships, old narratives, and that hurts a lot because healing doesn't only involve recovering things. Sometimes it involves losing things, losing relationships, losing masks, losing the need for approval, losing pride, losing versions of yourself that no longer work. And yes, there is grief in growth. A quiet kind of grief, because growing means leaving parts of yourself behind, the version that lived to impress others, the version that said yes to everything, the version that tolerated too much, the version that abandoned itself in order not to lose others, the version that confused sacrifice with love, the version that believed, if I give more, they'll love me. If I do more, I'll be worth more. If I endure more, they'll accept me. But here's something liberating. Your value does not increase because you sacrifice yourself until you're destroyed. Let me say that again. Your value does not increase because you break yourself trying to please everyone. Because many people live exhausted for one simple reason. They're trying to be enough for people who can never be satisfied. And that's exhausting. Incredibly exhausting. Trying to prove yourself. Trying to convince. Trying to please. Trying to explain. Trying to prove your worth. Trying to be seen. Trying to be loved. And maybe the uncomfortable question today is this: who are you still trying to impress? Think about it, because there are adults still living for approval that never came, still trying to prove something to a father, a mother, an ex, a spouse, a church, society, social media, a boss, a group, and they live emotionally exhausted. Because external validation never fully satisfies, never. It may give you a moment of dopamine, an applause, a like, temporary approval. But it never replaces peace. It never replaces identity. It never replaces inner security. Because here's something I learned the hard way. Inner peace weighs more than external applause. I'll say it again. Inner peace weighs more than external applause. What good is it if everyone admires you, but you can no longer sleep peacefully? What good is it if everyone thinks you're strong while emotionally you're fading away? What good is it to appear happy if you no longer remember what peace feels like? And I know something. This generation is tired, very tired. Exhausted young people, exhausted adults, exhausted fathers, exhausted mothers, exhausted leaders, exhausted marriages, people who are spiritually tired, mentally tired, emotionally drained. Why? Because we're overstimulated all the time. More news, more pressure, more comparison, more anxiety, more noise, more content, more expectations, more uncertainty, more fear, and almost no space left just to breathe. And here, I want to pause. Because maybe today you don't need another empty motivational speech. Maybe you don't need another, just keep pushing. Everything will pass. Think positive. Maybe today you need permission to be human, to acknowledge I'm not okay, without guilt, without shame, without a mask. Because recognizing pain does not make you weak, it makes you honest. And honesty is the beginning of restoration. Yes, restoration. Because listen to this, you can still heal, even if you feel late, even if you've cried a lot, even if you feel confused, even if you struggle with anxiety, even if you're exhausted, even if life has hit you hard, you can still breathe peace again. You can still rebuild yourself. You can still learn to trust again. You can still feel hope again. And maybe slowly, step by step, without rushing, without perfection, without masks. Because healing doesn't always look spectacular. Sometimes healing looks small, very small. Getting out of bed, asking for help, sleeping better, crying, talking, setting boundaries, drinking water, taking a deep breath, praying again, walking again, believing again. And I know that may sound simple, but small steps count too, because nobody heals by running. People heal by walking, slowly, with setbacks, with pauses, with tears, with patience, with truth, with hope. And maybe today I simply want to remind you of this. Not everything that smiles is healthy, but everyone who chooses to face their pain honestly, sooner or later learns how to smile from a place of peace, not from behind a mask.